This is the Capital Gang.
Welcome to this special edition of Capital Gang. I'm Mark Shields with Al Hunt, Robert Novak, and Margaret Carlson. Our guest is former Education Secretary William Bennett. Thanks for coming in, Bill.
Sinners can go to church, the Capital Gang can go to the university. Let's go, let's go.
Ooh. I'll have to think about that. President Clinton defended his Haiti policy in an Oval Address and issued this ultimatum.
The message of the United States to the Haitian dictators is clear. Your time is up. Leave now, or we will force you from power.
The Haitian generals did not comply. The CNN time poll showed by a margin of more than 2-1 that the U.S. public opposed sending U.S. troops to Haiti. No change from surveys taken before the president's speech. On the day after his ultimatum, President Clinton instead sent to Port-au-Prince former President Jimmy Carter with Senator Sam Nunn and retired General Colin Powell. They arrived today and immediately began talks with General Raul Cedras.
We have a very simple but very important mission in Haiti: to work with Haitian officials to devise a peaceful implementation of the policies of the United States government and the resolutions passed by the Security Council of the United Nations.
After a 3-hour meeting involving General Cedras with the 3 American leaders, no announcement was made. The meetings will resume tomorrow. All 3, President Carter, General Powell, and Senator Nunn, are spending the evening in Haiti. Bob Novak, will this effort avoid an invasion?
I'm afraid not. I think, Mark, if it was a real negotiation, if they were going to determine the conditions and the limitations of President Aristide's return to power, they might have a chance to avert an invasion. But I think this is just a face-saving thing by President Clinton, try to avoid a congressional resolution against him, to try to say, well, I want the last ditch. But I can't see how it's going to succeed when President Carter himself has made it clear the only thing they're negotiating is the terms of General Cedras' surrender.
Margaret Carlson.
I mean, I think he can avoid a congressional resolution against him by his own timing, but the fear in the White House was that Jimmy Carter wanted to go there anyway. He's beginning to show up anywhere there's trouble. And remember, he says to Kim Il-sung, you've been misunderstood. So he sometimes takes his own message.
He avoids war, and it's terrible.
Yes, and after all this huffing and puffing, the last thing you want is Carter going off and saying, I'll help you build a house, basically. So that's why they have Powell and Nunn. And I think this is, it's a useful thing to do, and they're negotiating how he leaves.
Al Hunt, negotiating how he leaves, invasion?
Well, no, as always, Margaret is much closer to the mark than Bob Novak. I have, look, I hope this succeeds. I have disagreed with Robert all along on Haiti. I think our policy ought to be to try to get rid of these terrible butchers who are illegally running Haiti. It also must be said, however, Mark, that President Clinton has not prepared the country for an invasion, and he certainly doesn't have the essential congressional backing. So therefore, it'd be a lot better for everybody, including the generals, if this were to succeed. I think there's a chance.
How about it, Bill? Chance?
No, I think they're going in. I think he's committed. I think he's lurched into this decision. Not so much for political reasons, which you'll hear from some, sort of psychological reasons. I mean, I think this notion that he has to be strong, take a tough stand somewhere. Now he doesn't know quite what to do. Maybe he's hoping that these 3, and it is a very distinguished group, will be able to pull his fat out of the fire, but I don't think so. But 2 things. What happened to the national conversation we were going to have about foreign policy? I mean, that's been cut short by this. He's just going ahead. And second, this is bizarre. I mean, this is really bizarre, and you ain't seen nothing yet in terms of bizarre. It's going to get even more so.
I have to say that the critics of the president, I think, have been a little bit inconsistent. They point out legitimately that by a 2-1, 3-1 margin, the American public opposes U.S. invasion, and then in the next breath say he's doing it for political reasons. No one has accused Bill Clinton of not being able to read polls. I think whatever else he's arguing, he's operating from a position of conviction rather than political.
There's no political upside to this.
The politics is the politics of the Congressional Black Caucus and congressional politics and needing their votes, which is really a dreadful reason to sending American troops. And I just see the worst consequences flowing from this as a precedent for the United States butting into other countries around the world. There will be a loss of life. It's not going to be a bloodbath or anything bad, but one American to die for this dubious venture is too much. And when I see this sophisticated weaponry loaded out of the aircraft carriers, if you've ever been to Haiti, I mean, this is a fourth world country, not a third world country. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Picture of all this technology and guys running around with masks, you know, shaking them at people. This is going to be very bizarre, but in terms of convictions, what is the center of his convictions? I mean, where is the argument for duty, the duty of the United States to intervene, or our interest to intervene? I mean, by international law, which is often pretty flimsy in this stuff, there's no right to intervene. There's no there.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a UN,
there's a UN resolution.
Which certainly gets right. But besides, let me just say one thing. Senator Nunn gave a very interesting speech on Wednesday, in which he proposed, he did not come out against the Clinton policy, but he did propose that if we can persuade this group to leave, that they hold the parliamentary elections, which are scheduled down there anyway, and only then, only after that would Aristide return. I think there's the makings of a possible compromise.
I think you're right. Now, Bob, you are the president, if I understand it, of the Junta Anti-Defamation League.
That's right.
Now, what you know, you have...
Bob has never met a junta he doesn't like.
No,
First place, that's not even a junta.
It isn't a junta. What's General saying?
The government, the military, they'll say the military-imposed government, it was the provisional president was elected by the elected parliament of the country, so he's a legal president. But that isn't the point. The point of the matter is that Aristide, you talk about butchers and thugs, Aristide is the king of the butchers and thugs. And he just named, as a person recruiting his police force, one of the real killers in Haiti. You don't worry about that because you're just one-sided. You're looking at only one side of the brutality.
I know you object to the fact that I don't like these people who kill orphans, but they do kill orphans.
Come on. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Al. Bill Bennett and the gang. We're back with Campaign Countdown, the political resurrection of Mayor Marion Barry. Welcome back. Campaign Countdown number 3. Former Mayor Marion Barry came back from disgrace and a prison term to easily win the Democratic nomination for mayor of the District of Columbia. His message to nervous white voters?
Well, get over whatever personal hang-ups you got. Get over it. I'm the best person for Washington.
In Minnesota, Governor Arnie Carlson scored a landslide Republican nomination victory over Christian right candidate Alan Quist. And on Wednesday, former Democratic Governor Douglas Wilder ended his own independent Senate candidacy in Virginia. Al Hunt, why did Washington voters turn to Marion Barry once again?
Well, the opposition was weak, Mark, but mainly Marion Barry duped the voters. He played on the fears and the anger. And I'll tell you, my hang-up is that Marion Barry is a disaster for this great city.
Disaster for the city, Bill?
Yeah, bad news. Race relations are in a terrible state in this country. This is the politics of race. If you count by race, this is the kind of result you get. You redistrict by race, and people are going to vote by race. We've got to get to this issue.
He's got Louis Farrakhan on his side. That's a problem. Parts of the D.C. government are in trusteeship already. Statehood's dead, and Congress is going to take over more and more.
Bob, any bright news?
Yeah, I love liberals who say it is terrible when they don't elect the people they want, then the voters were duped. That he was running against a discredited mayor in an empty suit of clothes. It's not much of a choice. And I think there's good news, Bill. You shouldn't be pessimistic. This means there'll be more congressional oversight over the District of Columbia. You won't have statehood. And it's also a vindication over the fascists in the Justice Department who entrapped Marion Barry in the first place. So I give them credit.
All right. Okay. Marion Barry did what the presidential campaigns of George McGovern and Barry Goldwater said they were going to do and didn't do. He changed the electoral universe. In other words, he was able to persuade people who had never voted, never registered, in a time of despair when politics is empty, brutish, and vacuous, to persuaded them to have hope, and I think that's an amazing, amazing accomplishment. He got thousands of people to vote who had never voted before, and I think let's give the guy a chance for a little redemption. I mean, if we all believe in that as liberals and conservatives.
Some hope. There's a lot of hate, too.
Okay, Bill, what about Minnesota, speaking of good feelings?
Yes.
I mean, what about your Christian right candidate out there, Alan Quist, endorsed candidate, gets bombed 2-1. End of the Christian right movement?
Oh, I don't think so. You know, the papers, the media seem to have two theories, the Christian right. Either they control the Republican Party, or they have absolutely no effect at all on the Republican Party.
Which is it today?
The truth is in the middle. And Minnesota is not one of the strongest states for the Christian coalition. They're stronger in states like Florida and Texas and California, and you'll hear from them. But it's a mistake to think either that they control any state or that they're puny in any state. They're a significant force.
Margaret,
Well,
significant, insignificant.
They have to be careful who they back because they're such narrow-minded candidates that they can't get elected in a general race.
You will.
This is not because Governor Carlson is related to me.
You old smooth-talking son of a gun. Go ahead.
Look, I was stunned by the results in Minnesota because Bob Novak assured me last month that Alan Quist was marching to victory there, and he criticized the very respected conservative Vin Weber for supporting Carlson. He said Vin Weber had been in Washington for too long, so I was sure that Carlson was dead after reading Bob. What this shows is the religious right are great when they're the foot soldiers, but let one of their own be a nominee where they frequently espouse anti-female and a disdain for separate church and state turns off a lot of the electorate. It's a mixed blessing for the GOP.
Briefly, Bob.
They demonized Mr. Quist, who was a very decent man. The liberal Republicans, Arnie Carlson is not just a liberal Republican, he's a real liberal. That is not the answer for the Republican Party. This was a very nasty campaign, an ugly campaign, and it is not the answer for the Republican Party because they have to learn to live with the Christian right. It's an important part of the party.
Margaret Carlson, does Doug Wilder's victory mean that Chuck Robb is going to beat Ollie North in Virginia in November?
Well, it helps him, but not as much as you might think, because the Doug Wilder's base needs to be as excited as Ollie North's base, and this isn't necessarily going to happen. But Robb automatically looks better because he doesn't have Doug Wilder, who loathes and despises him, lobbing these awful charges at him and trying to make him look ridiculous.
Let me just say one thing. Doug Wilder was the class of that field, in my judgment. He was the best in all the debates.
The brightest bear in the zoo.
Well, he was the best at all the debates, and he hadn't moved at all. He was still fourth in all the polls and wasn't moving. He's a guy that's finished first his entire life. I think, you know, pride and vanity, ego, whatever, just said, hey, I'm not going anywhere. What do you think, Bob?
I think that Robb is still in big trouble. He hasn't resurrected himself. He still is badly thought of. I think it hurt. This Wilder getting out does hurt North, but I think North is still ahead by a narrow margin.
Bill Bennett, Ollie's in trouble?
Robb is lost. The worst time to have an identity crisis is when you're running for something. I mean, he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he believes. North supporters galvanized.
Does Ollie North know who he is?
No, that's absolutely, of course he doesn't, because he changes himself every day. Most Virginians think that Chuck Robb does not deserve to be reelected and that Ollie North is a congenital liar. So therefore, it's not exactly what you call an appealing race. You know what I think there is no doubt that the Wilder departure marginally helps Robb. Hey, Bob, can I just say, Bob has a chance to redeem himself next week, though. He missed Minnesota, but he's now told us that up in Massachusetts that John Lake is going to ride the flag.
Wait a minute.
And if he does, I am going to pay homage to him
Wait a minute. I just been misrepresented. I said Don Lakian should win in there, but there are too many silly liberals, and Mitt Romney will be nominated.
Oh, boy, Bob. Too many silly liberals again. Everywhere you go. Next, the audience questions the capital game. Welcome back, and now questions from the audience. Our first question is James from Gambia, West Africa. James?
The Republicans, the media, and some Democrats are making it seem like this is the first president to send the country to war without congressional approval. I am very interested in foreign policy, and I'm still learning, but I don't get it. I'm sorry. My question is, what is the difference in Haiti compared to Panama and other foreign countries?
Haiti, difference between President Clinton going into Haiti as opposed to President Reagan invading Grenada and President Bush invading Panama. Margaret.
Well, there's not much difference at all. It's just when you have a Republican president, Republicans don't think he needs congressional approval and vice versa. You just cannot... wait. No, but all presidents should get approval. I mean, constitutionally and politically, it makes sense not to go on your own and to have congressional approval.
There's such things as American interests and American lives in a Cold War. That makes a difference, too.
I think James and Margaret have been reading the White House briefing material, because that's their answer, too.
Okay, this is Dawn from Washington, D.C.
My question is, isn't the Clinton invasion of Haiti just another example of the Monroe Doctrine, a rather harsh but time-honored establishment of the U.S. presence in the hemisphere, period?
I think Don's question's a good one, and quite frankly, if we're going to argue, as we have, that the Europeans have a responsibility to act in Bosnia, I think the failure of the United States to act here to restore democracy and replace the butchers and dictators is a legitimate question.
Let me answer that. Can I answer that?
I am much more, I didn't say first time, Bob, I am much more receptive to doing something to get rid of these people. Let's hope it's not a continuation of that policy, because last time I went to Haiti, we stayed for 15 years. I'm not sure that would be such a great... 19, I'm sorry. I'm not sure that would be such a great idea today, although I think we ought to get rid of these thugs.
It's not the Monroe Doctrine, because that was to keep foreign powers out, which was the pretext for going in, not the real reason, was the pretext for going into Haiti in the first place. I don't think, Mark, we should go into Bosnia. I don't think we should go into any place. I think we should mind our own business. The Cold War is over, and there's no need to be the grandmother or the policeman for the world.
Come home, America.
Come home, America. That's it. Scott from Washington, D.C.
I have a question about Ms. Carlson's earlier remark. In your opinion, are all Republicans narrow-minded, or just those who believe in God?
No.
Ooh.
About the radical right, and you know, the broad rhetoric of the Christian coalition is something I think we all agree on. It's some of the specifics and the intolerance, I think, of those people, including Quist, which makes it hard for them to get elected in a general election.
Bill Bennett.
David Wilhelm of the Democratic National Committee said, is the Christian Coalition willing to have a Democrat up there and speak? You bet we are. You bet the Christian Coalition put Bob Casey up there, which is more than the Democrats could do at their convention. There is free... The governor of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
There's more free speech in the Christian Coalition than the Democratic Party.
Thumbs down.
It's so nice to see a born-again Gonzaga guy.
And I'm a Catholic.
Yes. Linda.
I'd like to ask Mr. Bennett whether he would comment on the election in Baltimore between his brother and Joe Curran running for Attorney General, whether you think this is going to be a law and order campaign?
My brother's busy, but he's not running for mayor of Baltimore. He's representing the president.
Attorney General. Isn't he?
I only have one brother, and he's representing Bill Clinton, which is all the trouble he needs. Sorry.
That's bad enough.
Somebody else. That's bad enough.
Well, we ought to sell tickets to those family reunions.
You're right. Yeah.
What advice do you give to your brother about representing the president?
Trust but verify.
Greg from Alexandria.
Hi, I'm wondering if expected Republican gains in the Congress in the next 2 years will force the president to govern more as a new Democrat from the center, and if so, how that will affect Republican chances of running against him in '96. Is that a serious concern if he's really a moderate Democrat?
I think that 1994 is going to be a bad year for the Democrats. I think they're going to do badly in congressional races, but I think Bill Clinton, quite frankly, will probably do better in 1996 as a consequence of that, because I think he's a very agile, adroit, effective, political.
And he'd like to move to the center.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the worst thing, in a funny way, that could happen to Bill Clinton would be if there would be minimal Democratic losses this time, because then he would think everything is okay, and it's not.
He tried left. It isn't working. He'll tilt right and see if that works. I was outside the Beltway this week campaigning, and I said to all the Republicans I was campaigning for, are you hitting them on Clinton? They said, yeah, but all the Democrats are running from Clinton. So it's very hard because they're all saying, we didn't vote with them, we don't agree.
See, that's why Haiti is such a brilliant move. It gives the Democrats a chance to get daylight from themselves and Clinton. Think of that, Bill.
That's great.
Bill Bennett, thank you.
I hadn't thought of that.
Bill, thank you for being with us. Give our best to Attorney General Bob Bennett, or Lawyer Bob Bennett, and most important, Elaine Bennett, your wife.
That's right.
The gang will be back with the outrage of the week.
The real story from inside Haiti, or is the press just beating the drums for the White House? The stories behind the stories on CNN's Reliable Sources, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, Sunday.
And now for the outrage of the week, I'll go first. Russia is suffering from a declining birth rate. But that erratic ultra-nationalist Vladimir Zhirinovsky has a non-bureaucratic, non-governmental solution that relies upon individual initiative. He has pledged to father at least one child in every region of Russia next year, thereby providing his own unique response to JFK's clarion call to public service: ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Cancellation of the baseball season is outrage enough, but it was magnified by this untruth from the so-called acting commissioner.
You know, in spite of, Peter, the view that this was some predestined plot, it was far from that.
Get serious, Bud. You and other incompetent small market owners determined from the start to break the players' union, fully aware that Baseball 94 would be wiped out.
Hey, pro-labor Bob Novak.
Yeah.
Margaret.
Mark, don't look at me. That's the reaction of the FAA, air traffic controllers, and the Secret Service after Frank Corder flew a stolen Cessna over the Washington Monument, came in low over the White House, clipped a hedge, and ended up crashed into a wall 1 story below the presidential bedroom. The Secret Service is supposed to take a bullet for the president. This time, they ducked.
Al Hines.
Mark, the inappropriately named Sportsman Club of Wyoming County, Pennsylvania, is raising funds for Republican senatorial candidate Rick Santorum by selling posters with Democratic Senator Harris Wofford's name in the bullseye. Like, let's target him or shoot him. If Mr. Santorum wants to be a lackey for the NRA, that's fine, that's his right, but it's outrageous that he lacks the character or the courage to disown this sick gimmick. 6 years, best outrage Bob Novak's ever had.
We're out of time. It was good outrage all the way around. Thank George Washington University. Thank this wonderful audience. This is Mark Shields saying good night for the Capitol Gang and the George Washington University.